Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great show. I got Kursten, a person who went through my program, I think 8 years ago. She's doing well. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Before I get started, check us out on the YouTube member program. Check us out on Patreon. Check out my book, Gangster Redemption, still the hottest book out there. It's a crazy ride as well. Let me welcome Kursten. Welcome to the show, Kursten.
Hey, how's it going? I still have a copy of your book sitting on my shelf.
You got a copy of my book on your...
It's the one you gave me 8 years ago.
Wow, that's right when it came out in 2013. So 12 and 13, the book came out. The reason I wanted to bring you on, I think this is a really compelling story. I remember you came to one of my events, one of my bowling events, and you did community service. I gave you community service for helping. In fact, you were pregnant at the time, if I remember correctly. And you did such a good job. And you were telling us and telling me about a story which happened to me, and people who know that was strapped down. I was strapped down naked, beaten, and tortured by guards, even peed on, spit on. You were actually put in a restraint chair at the county jail. Tell the people exactly what that was about and what happened.
All right, so I got arrested for DUI. I was very drunk. Very belligerent, and I've been through a lot, so I didn't respond very well. I was walking back and forth when they put me in a cell, hitting the walls. I was hurting myself, and they came and put me in the chair. But the way that they did it, it's a little fuzzy. They brought me from the room, and they asked me if I wanted to go into the chair or if I was going to stop. And I said, put me in the chair. I was being my normal snippy, sarcastic self, like, do it, you won't. And so they said, great, it's training day. And they brought all the people that were on the floor. It felt like all of them. There had to be like 9 guards around me. One of them actually got on top of me when I started struggling because I dealt with like a little bit of, it felt really claustrophobic. It felt really uncomfortable once I started actually doing it. And I realized I was going to get restrained in this chair, and it wasn't a joke anymore. It wasn't a do it, you won't moment anymore. I freaked out, and she got on top of me and held me down, and they were laughing. They thought it was funny because it was training day. So they took this moment to have an entertaining moment to do this to me. And at the time, I was 100 pounds. I mean, it wasn't really necessary to have multiple people holding me down and to have one guard literally get on top of me in this chair. It would have been sufficient to just put me in the chair. I mean, she really could have done it without restraining me at all. I don't know. It was just, it was a moment that I realized that the people in the Brevard County lockup were really kind of power hungry. They got entertainment out of it. And it wasn't something that felt good. You're supposed to be able to look up to these people. These people are supposed to be able to, they're supposed to be exemplary people who are put in this role because they can control themselves, and they're in charge of controlling other people who may not be able to control themselves, not because they're going to take advantage of that and try to hurt people for fun. And that's what it felt like.
How old were you at the time?
I was 20.
You're a 20-year-old young kid just out getting drunk. You got slammed. You're not saying you weren't drunk or anything like that. I remember you. Yeah, no, I remember you telling me that you even admitted you were wrong, but you ended up having bruises all over you, and you actually said they beat me in this chair. I mean, the girl got on top of you. I don't get that either. That just makes no sense at all. And like you said, 9 people, training day. These restraint chairs, and I was in, we didn't have the restraint chairs. They actually put you 4-pointed naked. They strip you naked, and they put you they take your hands and they put you down spread eagle, and you're left there for 4 hours, and that's what they call the restraints in where I was. And I mean, forget the humiliating factors, that goes out the window. You don't even give a shit about that after some point. But then, I mean, obviously they don't care. They'll let you defecate, they'll let you piss yourself, they'll it's just the way it is. Now the restraint chairs, I don't know if you realize they just had another person in a restraint chair die in the Brevard County Jail about a year and a half ago. A veteran who had a PTSD attack. They ended up putting him in a restraint chair and put a spit over his head, which he wasn't a spitter, but they did it. And 16 minutes later, he was unresponsive and he ends up dying. They killed him.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I got in trouble. I got yelled at, actually, because I was put in the restraint chair. I was next to somebody else who was in a restraint chair. And she said she had to go to the bathroom. And they kept yelling at me. I'm like, let her use the bathroom if she needs to use the bathroom. Like, they won't even let you out to use the bathroom. They dehumanize you.
And did she end up peeing on herself and stuff?
Yeah.
So how long were you in that chair?
They don't put you in front of a clock. Time doesn't pass there the same way either. I didn't get out until the morning.
You stayed in that chair all night?
I don't know how long I was in it. They let me out eventually, but it was a couple of hours at least.
Now, you admit you made your mistakes, you partied too much, you did all your stuff. Listen, a lot of people do that. And everyone changes and everyone goes through ups and downs in life. I know you're a good mother, and I think that's important to me, that, you got a daughter and a son, I think it is, right? Don't you have a son too? Mm-hmm. And he's 6, and your daughter, beautiful little daughter, and, that's what you're doing. You're showing them. I see the way you handle kids. You got a lot of compassion in your heart. When you were that age and you went through that county jail, is that the first county jail you went through? Mm-hmm. Did you have problems before that with the law?
Once or twice, but it was unrelated. It was domestic disputes with my mother.
So it was never anything like, you were attacking a cop or something like that?
No.
So you ended up having a DUI. How long did you spend in the jail for that DUI?
I want to say I got out around 10 o'clock in the morning is when I was released.
The next day?
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. But it was a really awful experience for not how long it was.
I'm frustrated for you because I know what's going on in policing. I know what's going on in jails and stuff of that nature. And to hear about a young woman that, yes, you could be belligerent, you're a 100-pound girl, throw her in a cell. Let her be in the cell. Just because they want you to comply, they realize you're high or whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, and they have to put you through that extra sense of punishment or power, as you said. I often tell people that all the time. We have too many people who have power with unchecked power, and there's an old saying, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you get out of the jail. I remember you had to come through my program. I do remember that. And that's how you ended up getting, and I remember telling you, come on, because you told me your story then, and I was disgusted with the system. Always been disgusted with the system. So you went through the reality check program. Obviously you learned something. You've done well. You can make mistakes along the way, which everybody does in life. But it's that foundation, I think, that you get with stuff. Now, do you remember the people who did that to you?
I don't remember their faces. I couldn't pull them out of a crowd now to save my life. They made no real impact on me other than the event being really terrifying.
Well, not only terrifying, there wasn't any kind of positivity there. Nobody came up to you and said, hey, listen, maybe you got an alcohol problem, kid. Maybe you need to do something the next day. They just didn't give a shit, right?
Oh, yeah. They didn't care.
And that's my problem. If we could start trying to help people instead of just throwing them in a cage and process them and get the hell out of here, you better straighten up. Why don't we help a young kid if you see him that intoxicated or that drugged out or whatever it is? I don't care. I've done every drug in the book, got fucked up more than most people will ever get fucked up. And I often tell people, I said, listen, if somebody would have helped me along the way earlier, I probably would have stopped a lot of things instead of just putting their foot on your neck and saying, do it my way or do it the highway. Or you can't do that. You think who the fuck you are. And it's that power trip. So you get, and I'm a fighter like you are, Kursten. We're fighters. We don't quit. Adversity makes you stronger. I really believe that. Whatever put you down will build you up to be a better and stronger person afterwards. And then look at me, from being in the hole for 3 years, being strapped down naked, beaten and pissed on by guards, to watching friends commit suicide and everything that's happened to me. I look and say, wow, I had to make it and tell people like yourself to try to educate people, because I don't look down on anybody, not anybody ever. I think, listen, you're our future. I love the fact that you're smart. You are our future, and young people like you are. I'm the old fuck. I'm done soon in life, really. I hate to say that. I really am. Guys like you are the ones who are going to take the reins, and hopefully politically, hopefully education or business-wise or whatever it's going to be, and educate the younger kids coming up and say, look what happened to me. I was fucking 20 years old, and they put me in a restraint chair because I was drunk and obnoxious, which every 20-year-old is drunk and obnoxious. And they had to put me in this restraint chair and sit on. You remember it vividly, the girl sitting on you.
I actually just remembered, you know how like sometimes you don't remember things about an event until you start talking about it? I did leave the booking room and I was processed. They put me in solitary confinement and put me in one of the turtle suits. And that was a fun experience. It was when you said that nobody came and just told me maybe you have an alcohol problem. That really reminded me. It reminded me of what the therapist said, because they said therapist to talk to me. She said you could have killed a puppy when she was talking about my drinking and driving, and I remember it today. I'm like, why would you say something like? She said you could have killed a puppy. You could have killed a kid. I'm like, oh, I could have.
So they put you in a restraint chair in the booking area, right?
Yes, and then they let me out and they let me have my phone call, but it wasn't until the morning that I got my phone call, and it was after I was already supposed to be at work. So I called my friend because I didn't know my work number and told him to call out of work for me because it was already after I was already supposed to open at the market. And I really wanted them to know that I wasn't able to come in. And but I remember I was in there all night. I was in the booking room all night.
Well, you just showed me something that's responsibility. If a person is that conscientious to just make sure they letting them know I can't make it or something, that's conscientious. I tell people, we might mess up, but that core belief of that, having that conscious, his funny story, when I met my first wife, she was young. She was a lot younger than me. She was 19. I was 31, I think, at the time. So, and, she was a hottie and all that kind of stuff. Stripper, did her thing. But what always respected me about her, when I had taken her home and I had a big party at my house and I had a party house and all that, the next day I said, hey, you should stay here. And she goes, no, I can't. I go, come on, we're partying, we're doing coke. It was just a crazy times. And she says, I can't. I said, what do you mean? I go, listen, if you lose your job, I'll give you a job paying double. I know it. You'll make more. Don't worry, all this. I'll pay your days off. She says, no, I can't do that. She goes, I have to do this because it's my responsibility. And that stuck in with me. And that's one of the reasons I married her, to be honest with you. Because she had that kind of, she didn't just do it, we partied, had a great life, and then we only divorced after I went to prison. And we're still friends to this day. But it was amazing how that stuck in me. And it just stuck what you just said, really, Kursten, that, I had to call someone to tell them I can't come to work and help somebody open. And people should notice that, not just say you're some drunk kid in the street and you don't give a fuck about anybody. You still cared. Now, you sobered up, obviously, and you're going to get your charges, you're going to do your stuff, but there's no reason for them to put you in a restraint chair or just totally, like you said, for training. I love that one. For training and just abuse somebody in that. They don't realize, what I want to do with guards, I want to put them in a restraint chair and tell them, I don't know when I'm taking you out. How's that, motherfucker? And just leave them there. See how quick they go crazy, because you will go crazy in one of those things. They are cruel and unusual punishment. And I get why they use them in rare cases, and they should have a nurse there, and they could have easily seen, I don't know how well they watched you as a drunk person. You could have vomited in yourself. You could have did so much stuff and choked on your vomit and a lot of things that you're lucky you're alive. I hate to say that. And I look back at you and I look at Kursten and I say, wow, look how good. You turned out good despite the bullshit you went through. And obviously, we make mistakes. I'm not going to get into everybody's mistakes because I still fucking make mistakes every day. I mean, it's just who I am and who people are. But it's that core person in you. And you showed me one phone call that I picked up on as a guy who works with young people that makes your quality I would in 2 seconds hire you. I would in 2 seconds support you in something, because I know it's that responsibility, and I want you to know that. And I think that's important. Did you ever find out what happened to the girl next to you? And why was she in a restraint chair?
I don't know. I never asked her.
So there are two women in restraint chairs at one time.
Right next to each other. We were right next to each other.
What the hell is going on over there?
She was clearly detoxing on drugs. I think it was something that they had against drugs and alcohol, which is fine. I mean, addiction is an awful thing, but most often I think people don't realize that it's escaping reality that people become addicted to. So you have to ask yourself, why does this person want to escape reality, and how can I help them with that? Not F this person for doing drugs. And a lot of the times you get the second mentality, and that's not a good thing. And I think that that's the mentality that they had. And she was clearly detoxing from drugs, and they didn't care that she had to go to the bathroom. They didn't care.
You know, Kursten, it reminds me of something with the people you're talking about. And, you know, I always will emphasize this. There's always good and bad on both sides. You know, obviously I'm sure there's some good guards. But it's a shame, Kursten, that what has happened with these young people, young guards, is that they don't realize it. And it's so funny, because I can't tell you how many phone calls I get from officers, judges, people of high esteem. All of a sudden they say, hey Larry, can I talk to you? It's private. I know right away what that means. Yeah, you know, my kid is fucking up. I caught him with drugs, or something happened. And until that happens, they're the fucking Mr. Fuck you, no drugs, this, I'm hard on it. And it's bullshit. Those cops, and I call them cops, as an ex-con, we used to call them cops in prison, guards. Hey, the cops are coming, or whatever it was. Those guards that did that to you, you know there's no perfect people. So how many of them went out and got fucked up before? How many of them went out and did drugs or whatever they did? And because they're human, and the number is there. So I don't say none of my guys or none of these people. And they look down, or they even do things to young people. Obviously, thank God, nothing worse happened to you, because things do happen to people. I was in prison when it happened to men, and I understand it happens to women. And I just did a video in front of Tallahassee Prison, which is a woman's prison up in Florida, Tallahassee, Florida. And it's called FCI Tallahassee, and there's 850 women in there. And that's some tough women, but some things bad happen to a lot of people. And we all have pasts. I mean, I was abused. You have a past that you have to come wrecking with. And you have to, I always say, and I want you to remember this, I want you to become stronger for it and educate people on it. That was, when you first met me. Do you remember when you first met me? Mm-hmm. What did you think?
Well, I didn't know what to think, because I went to one class when I was a teenager. It was after everything with my mom. I was abused for years by my stepdad. I was abused for 6 years. And my mom and I had a confrontation, and she called the police on me to kind of teach me a lesson. After I pushed her out of a chair for calling me a name and a liar, and I was neither. So I had to stand up in a room full of everybody in the Scared Straight program when I was 14 and apologize to my mother, who allowed me to be abused for 6 years. And so I walked into the Scared Straight program of yours, and I thought it was the same thing. The reality check program, I thought it was just going to be another Scared Straight program, and I was signing up for some program that was going to try to whatever. But I was actually really impressed by it, because it wasn't a bunch of people standing up in a room saying, oh, I'm better than you. It was somebody standing up in a room saying, hey, I used to rob people. You want to listen to me on why not to be that way? Here's how you can be better. Look at me now. You can be this. And so it was good. It was refreshing. And I think it's a really effective tool to have people who have been there talk to people who are there.
I often tell people, people would say that they'd look at me, this big guy, and the tattoos and the fucking thing. You remember all that? And it's a Scared Straight. I said, don't ever use that word. I said, I never in my life yell at people. I will never demean somebody. I try to go down to your level where I was and bring you up to a level of education And you know the stories of when a man got cut with his anus and all that. And I remember telling the stories, and the people would come up to me years later and say, "Hey, yeah, Larry or Mr. Lawton, I will never forget that story. And I didn't get in the car with the kids with the drugs, or I didn't do this, or man, I should have listened to you, you know, the ones that messed up." And I said, "Man, you told the truth, though. I can't knock that." Because I always respected young people, Kursten. I still believe, and I will always believe, I learn more from young people because they are in a different world. Obviously, I'm not smarter than you, but I have more experience than you in certain places. You, by far, are smart. I know how educated you are. I know how smart you are. Look at you. You're raising 2 kids. You're working. You were a counselor. You're now working for something you were. But don't let that hold you back.
I basically enroll kids in a preschool. I'm not a counselor, but I do have my social work degree.
Right, your social work, but don't let anybody, you know, bring that down, because you're coming also from a place that you've been there. You're coming from a place that you messed up and you need to change your life, whether it was with guys or now abuses. You know, we have that bond that we were abused, and it took me many, many years until I was in my 30s before I told anybody about my abuses. So what I try to emphasize always is young people gotta try to educate as much as you can, and don't hate. I got hate because I always found that hate was hurting me. It's an emotion that just keeps eating at you, and they don't give a fuck. The person you hate don't give a fuck. They're either sociopath, or they're fucking got zero empathy or compassion or anything.
They're just living their life, and you should just live yours. Because if the more positive energy you put in improving yourself, and the less negative energy you spend wasting on those fools, the more your life improves, and you can leave that in the rearview mirror.
So you were on your own quickly. You were on your own since you were a young girl.
Yeah, I mean, I moved in and out of my mom's house for a long time, but the first time I moved in with the boyfriend, I was 13.
You moved in with a guy at 13 years old? How old was he?
It's 14, 15.
Oh, he lived with his parents and you moved in that house?
Yeah, it was a trailer park. We really weren't being raised by anybody or anything. It was the first time I tried morphine.
Wow, at 13 years old?
13, 14.
And obviously it helped, if you want to call it that, because it dulls the pain. Everybody knows that. Any kind of drug dulls the pain. But you had to find, I mean, at what point did you start realizing, when I met you, obviously you made your mistakes. You still were going to work and you had that great work ethic. Obviously, I know, you went and did various professions, and you could say them or not. That's up to you. It doesn't matter. You were good at whatever you did. And I always respected that. I always said to Teresa or anybody else, I said, good for her. I mean,
sex work is real work. And I made a lot of money as a stripper. I will never be ashamed of that. I got to take my kids on vacation. I got to buy cars. It was good.
Yeah, you put yourself through college too, didn't you?
Well, the Pell Grant put me through college, but I did finish my associate's degree, summa cum laude. Woo-hoo.
Congratulations.
After 2 kids. I worked really hard on that.
And because you know what goes through your mind when you're either a ex-con or you've been in trouble with drugs or anything like that, you're always thinking of ways to make money. I mean, that's just the way it was, and I'm sure you're the same way. And now, how do you look at? I mean, obviously, I know you respect people, and I know you help people, and you even told me what you did today as a social worker, and against the rules, so to speak. And I'll leave it at that. But I respect that so much, because it's people like you who are going to make a difference in somebody's life, and it's not by the book in this, because sometimes the book's not right.
You got to throw the book out. One of the worst things you can say is, this is the way that things have always been done. So what? If it's not effective, change it. Do something different. Make an impact.
Absolutely. You're a really smart young woman, Kursten. I'm glad you shared your story about the shoe and the chair and whatever else. Is there anything else you'd like to talk to my audience about? Or what parting words would you like to give to young people? Or young women who watch? We do have some, don't get me wrong, when you have 1.2 million people, you have some women. What would you like to tell them or people? Because since you grew up a rough life, you were abused as a young girl, you made it out, you did drugs at a young age, but then you came out of it, and look at you today.
I would like to say that escaping reality always catches up with you at some point or another, and you don't want it to be too late when you find out that you need to confront it, because you always have to confront it at some point or you die first. If you focus on escaping reality, that's what happens. You either watch your friends die as addicts and you shape up, and you live on accident like me. I could have died so many times. I should have died so many times. But all this stuff, it really does catch up with you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Our mental health care system is flawed, but it's there for a reason. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask people for help. Pay attention to the people who are around you and the people who stay and love and care about you, and focus on those people instead of the other people who may be critical and judgmental and may not be there with a hand to help you. Focus on the friends who are there for you, not just there to drink and have fun and there when you want to throw a party at your house, but focus on the friends who add meaning to your life, who motivate you to be the better self you are, who may criticize you a little bit when you're doing something that's actually wrong. And maybe you take the criticism badly because, you're defensive and you know it's wrong. But you want to listen to those people because you want people to tell you when you're wrong, and you want to know how to be better. So focus not on escaping reality and what the wrong people think. Pay attention to the blessings in your life and really nurture good connections, and take care of yourself. Don't spend time pleasing everybody around you and people pleasing and all of that. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of yourself, that always catches up with you too in the wrong way. I spent a lot of time not building my reality, and it caught up with me. And now, I've got my art behind me on the wall. Do art, journal, get outside, go explore nature. Look at the beauty around you, and get out of substances and get out of your head and focus on your future, but also focus on the present. So that's something that I wish somebody had told me, and I would have listened years ago, because I would be a lot better off. I had focused a lot of energy on the things that I'd been through, and even made it a part of my identity. All this abuse and blah blah blah, and I ruminated on these things, and I never really processed and got over it and nurtured my reality and took care of myself and got out of the substances. So that is what I'm leaving to a lot of people. If you take one thing from what I say today, take that from what I say, because honestly, that is the one thing that is helping me, and I'm still working on it really hard every day. It's not something that I did and I just have some art up on my wall. No, it's something that I have to convince myself to do even today. Like, oh, I haven't painted in a while, or oh, I haven't gone hiking in a while. I need to do these things for me, because I know I feel better when I do them, and I treat other people better, and I have more success in my life when I do these things. And so yeah, and then also women, here's something I'm going to leave for you. Do not be ashamed if you resort to stripping. It is a very legitimate and lucrative business. And there are a lot of men who will pay thousands of dollars to sit with you in a room and do absolutely nothing with you except look at you and talk to you. Do not be ashamed of it. It's legitimate, and you can make a lot of money doing it. And I closet wish that I had started dancing when I was 20. I would have a house. I would have a car that is a very good car. Right now I have a Prius that barely runs in the driveway. So if you got it, don't be ashamed of it. Do what you have to do, and be safe, and work on yourself. Love yourself. Yourself first.
The one thing I will add to that, and that was so powerful what you just said, is try to help another person. That has always made me feel better. Whether it's young people or older people, I love to help people, and that's my own therapy. It helps me by helping them, and I think that's, you're like that in a lot of ways, and you're doing a great job with your kids. You really are. Take these words to heart, because she lived through those life, and you know what? She's a better person for it, and I have a lot of respect for her. Have a great day, everybody. Stay strong. Make one good choice a day, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.